Okay, I think some of you maybe are still deep in this work. Others of you maybe have come up with some questions, and that's good. And what I'd like to do now, that was enjoyable for me, just hearing a few people's, what a few people are thinking about. And what we're going to do now is get a little more interactive. We're going to start to think about other people's issues. We're going to start to try to build more of a community here. So I'm sorry if your papers are sloppy or if you're not feeling particularly proud of the way you wrote. But could you do me a favor and pass them up to Laura and I?
You didn't tell us that.
Oh, I thought I did. I thought I told you the whole thing. And make sure your organization name or your community name is on there.
Here, I'll help you collect them.
Thank you.
Oh, it's the same. You choose. Okay.
They're going right back out to you. Okay.
Right, put your name.
We're just gonna get help from each other.
Oh yeah.
So what I'd like to do, I just collected these so I can pass them back out, and so you can work on other people's issues. So what I'd like you to do is get in groups of 3, and preferably with people you don't know, but it doesn't have to be. But preferably try to mix yourselves up. So in groups of 3, and then in your groups, I'm going to give these papers back out to you. I'm going to give you somebody else's organization or community. And on the back, it says here, from your brainstorming, please write down any potential data sources for the research questions listed earlier. The exercise I'd like you to do next is I'd like you to look at the questions that you know, a group or an individual wrote there. And I'd like you to start to think, now how could that person answer that? Well, they could, maybe they could go to the central library and look in the history archives and find some data on the history of that community. And that would be a great place to find out about the Swansea area neighborhood. Or maybe what this person needs to do to think about the issues in those schools are interview teachers, right? Or maybe the Piton Foundation on their Neighborhood Indicators website, is that the name of the website? Community Facts. If you haven't seen it, the Piton Foundation has a great resource full of data on all the neighborhoods in Denver, Community Facts. And maybe in Community Facts, you could find some answers or some data that would inform this question, some information that would inform this question. So what I'd like you to do is get in groups of 3, and then we'll pass these out. And I'd like you, as a group of 3, to brainstorm data sources for whoever's community or organization you're looking at. Brainstorm information sources for them. We'll spend about 5 minutes brainstorming those, and then I'm going to give you a second organization or community and do the same brainstorming exercise with them. Does that make sense? Any questions? Good enough? You can ask Laura and I questions as we go. So please get in groups of about 3, and I'll start to pass these out. Yeah, if I have them all, that would be helpful. Here, one group can feel free to come right here.
As we visited with each of you around, how many of you began to get a sense of, wow, the question I thought that was very specific actually wasn't all that specific, or the thing that I thought was answerable or persuasive really needed to be refined? It's easier to see in somebody else's work, right? So how many of you had that experience? I hope that was helpful for you, because then you can really go back and think more critically about your own questions. And the reason we start out with this doing one question is because even professional, believe it or not, even professional storytellers have trouble keeping their focus on what they're really trying to do, because when you begin digging into all this interesting information, it goes along and along and along, and pretty soon you're down a rabbit hole and you've forgotten your focus. And so if we can help keep you focused on what story you're really trying to tell and what the goal of that is, what you hope happens because you're telling this story, that's going to really keep you focused. So what we are going to do is give you a little bit of homework. Did anybody tell you there was going to be homework? We're going to give you just a little bit of homework for the next time we all get together. And I hope we all get together again, because this is really a terrific group. So if it can be the same people, that would be wonderful. The homework is this. For your own project and story, really begin to think critically. Double check that question or series of questions, and begin to take out one issue and think about what sources of information. Now, a lot of you started out talking about data in the sense of, were there some numbers I could go get? Are there some facts I could get from a government office or a report of some kind? And then you begin to branch out. Well, maybe I could go and do a video interview of someone who would help make this a very persuasive story. So we would like, when we come back the next time, for you to have that kind of information. The broadest sense of the data that support, the facts and information that support your story. Because what we want you to come out of this with at the end of 4 training sessions is a story so powerful, so compelling, that something happens because of it. Daniel, do you want to talk a little bit more about
homework?
Yes, the homework.
Sure. First, I just want to say thank you a ton for your participation. We're making copies of those worksheets that you worked on so that we can help you think about data sources and issues and questions. And then we're going to give you back your originals, and we're going to ask you to bring that with you to the next training, which I just looked on my agenda, is July 24th. And so July 24th is going to be kind of sharing celebration. It's not going to be the kind of, it's going to be back here in the same room, and but it's going to really focus on you and you all sharing your stories. You started to engage in each other's stories by thinking about data sources for them. And as Laura just mentioned, you're starting to think about refining your question. Next time, we just want to hear your stories. And we want to give you feedback. And we want to empathize and provide input from our perspective. And when I say we, I mean the collective we, all of us, on how to address this issue fully. So we'd like you to bring those data sheets back and think about those research questions. And bring any data with you. We'll send you an email reminder, but bring any data with you. If you have a video, bring a video. If you've already interviewed people, bring that. If you've created a graph for a previous annual report, bring that graph. Show it to the community. And we'll give you feedback. That looks great. That's the kind of thing that so-and-so should see. You know, they would want to hear about that. Yeah, Lynn.
Can I just ask a question about
Sure,
data
please.
versus information?
Yeah.
Because you continue to use the word data. To me, that means numbers.
Yeah.
But some of the things you were referring to really are information as opposed to data. And a lot of these questions to me didn't lend themselves to data, but they did lend themselves to information.
I think you can think of it as facts.
Okay.
Yeah. Part of what you're getting, go ahead.
And I was just going to say, and even that is not a perfect word, because in some cases, what will make your story more compelling and really undergird it and bulletproof it and make it so that nobody can argue with your story are things that aren't necessarily, it may be an interview with someone in your neighborhood so that someone else can hear firsthand what that person is experiencing. So we struggle with what word to use, but it's all the information that really makes your story the strongest story it can be.
Having rich community histories is a problem.